Jesus was saying something in the book of Luke chapter 17 and verse 26. He said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man. What happened in the days of Noah? I wrote one book about it. He said that in the days of Noah, people were eating and drinking. That's ceremony. They were busy ceremony. They were busy eating. They were busy going for ceremony. They were busy, but they did not know. They did not know the time for Jesus. They did not know the time the master was about to come. They did not know that. They did not know that the boat was about to close. They didn't know. They were busy on their own. So your decision matters a lot. We are in the time of decision. And what we said in Galatians chapter 4 verse 1 and 2. Galatians chapter 4 verse 1 and 2. He said, even though you are the owner, at first, even though you are the owner of this empire, owner of a great promise, a great house, but because you are still a baby, you cannot control it. You cannot. You cannot. Until you grow. So, right now, it means that until you grow, there are certain things you can never get. No matter your prayer. If you don't grow, you can't. If you don't grow, you can't. And when we say you have grown, it means that you'll be able to take responsibility of your action. You take what? Responsibility of your action. That's the sign that you have grown. Your ability to take responsibility of your action. You know where you're going. I am going here. That is where you are going. You know it is you. In the first service, I made a comment. I said, stop doing something because people say. Do something because you decide. I want to do it. That's why I did it. So that when you are arrested, you will say, I did it. Not because this person, oh, I did not know. You see, you are watching in the film many times when somebody is taken to a occultic place, and then when they told him what to do, he said, hey, go water me off, man. What do you mean by that? You did not explain this thing to me well. What do you mean by the water me off, man? When you were going, you didn't know what it is called secret court. And you follow somebody to that secret court, and you are saying you did not explain well to me. When you were going, the first thing to understand is that anything can happen there. So if you don't decide for anything, then you will regret based on somebody. Say to somebody, decide. Decide on how you want to live your life. Decide on how you want to serve God. Decide. Hebrews chapter 5 verse 12. He said, by now you're supposed to be a grown-up person. You're supposed to be teaching other people. You're supposed to be following other people up. Not every time you're following up. Hey, DC can wake up. Well done now. Be strong. Please, don't give up. Every time. No. He said, by this time you're supposed to be the person that will stand, ready to defend the gospel, ready to stand for God. But at this time, you are still looking for someone that will pamper you, that will tell you, Jessica, that will do this. No! It means you are still a baby. And he said, verse 14, he said what? He said, solid food, verse 14. He said, solid food belongs to adults. Solid food belongs to people that have grown. Solid food, they are ready to take the challenge. They are ready to stand for it. They are ready to move for it. They know what it is. They are ready to take the blame. Ask somebody, are you ready to take the blame? Anybody who cannot take the blame is not yet a grown-up. Listen to me. A grown-up person can take blame. And that's what Jesus did. Jesus carried our blame. And look at the book of Colossians chapter 3 verse 13. Colossians chapter 3 verse 13 says something like that. He said that you should be able to forgive one another. But put it in New Living Translation. Let us see what it says in Colossians chapter 3 verse 13. He said what? Make allowance for each other's what? Fault. Can we read it together again? Make allowance for each other's fault and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. He said, make allowance. That's what called maturity. Because you have grown, you understand that somebody must offend you. I remember one man of God in those days. He has died now. There's something he said. He said, before you offend me, I've already packed forgiveness for you. My cupboard is full of forgiveness. A lot of forgiveness. If you offend me, I bring out one and forgive you. I like that statement. He said, you offend me, I have forgiveness. I bring out one and cover the offense. Praise the Lord. That is why God does not keep malice. You see what Jesus did? On the cross of Calvary, he said, Father, forgive them. They don't understand what they are doing. Why? Because he knew the reality. They don't know what they're doing. He forgave them. So he said you should make allowance. Why? Because you grow. Look at what the Bible said in Galatians chapter 6. Galatians chapter 6 verse 1. Look at Galatians chapter 6 verse 1. Put it in New Living Translation. Let us read it very well. All right, let's read. Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by some sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back onto the right path, and be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself. He said, you have grown. Because you have grown, you can help another person. You can help another person. You can build another person. But we are in the church today where you see people that have been in the church for 10 years, they can never help another person. They cannot build another person. It means that they are not grown. Age is just a number. Every year you are growing. But then in mentality you are still poor. You are not growing. Said somebody, decide. If you don't decide, you get to nowhere. And we said something in the first service, write down that quality decision helps to arrange your journey of life. If you don't decide, your journey of life will still be crooked. You don't know where you're going. Until you decide, you don't know where you're going. But when you decide, you take responsibility. You move by yourself. You are going to where you want, not where people want. Not where tradition wants. Our tradition can do it like this. I saw in the book of John, in the book of Luke chapter 1. In Luke chapter 1, when they came to give name, when Zachariah and Elizabeth gave a baby. They gave a baby, and the baby was born. God gave the child. And when it was time to give the name, what happened? And then the relative, the family, they came. They said, hey, woman, because at that moment, Zachariah was dumb. He could not speak. So they turned to the woman and said, woman, what will be the name of your baby? What were they expecting? They were expecting traditional system. They were expecting that the traditional system, according to my village, the firstborn of anybody that is born must answer the name of my father. You understand? So my firstborn must answer, if there's a son, he must answer the name of my father. The first daughter must answer the name of my mother. That is tradition. But what if God does not say so? That's why you must be in the spirit to understand where you're going. Hello? You must be in the spirit to understand. That's what makes you a child of God. And so when they came, maybe they were expecting that Elizabeth will say, this one is going to answer. I don't know the name of the father of Zachariah. Maybe the name of the father of Zachariah was Zachariah the first. And then another one, Zachariah the second. So they expected this one to become what? Zachariah the third. But when it was time, the woman said, his name shall be called John. Look at the statement they asked him. They said unto her, nobody has ever answered John in our relative. It is not a name from our family. But that was the name God gave. And then they said, well, this one is a woman, we don't count her. They turned to the man and said, man, what is the name of your son? The man said, give me paper. He wrote, John. And they were surprised. Because when man has spoken, that is all. Listen to me. If you are a married man here, always work together with your wife. Listen, if Zachariah was saying a different thing, and Elizabeth was saying a different thing, there will be confusion. Are you getting what I'm talking about? Yes, sir. Even though it is Zachariah, even that it's Elizabeth that is in the spirit, because Zachariah is not in the spirit, if he says his name shall be Okoronkwo, that will be the name. That will be the name. You cannot change it. Then what is it all about? God said unto them, remember what God said concerning John. When John was coming, what was he coming to do? He was coming to introduce the era of grace. Is somebody there? Yes, sir. He was coming to do what? Introduce the era of grace. And what was his name? John. What's the meaning of John? Grace. So this one is coming with grace. He wants to introduce grace. It is the era of grace that is coming. So he carries grace. He's bringing grace to this place. And God gave him the name Grace. And then the people wanted to change it to another thing altogether. Come on, say somebody, decide on where you're going. If you don't decide on where you're going, other people will lead you to your destruction.